the stuff I do come up with and have my friends do, which just makes sense to me, they look at it and go, "You're out of your mind." And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. We're out of our mind." So the biggest thing is I've had people say to me, and it's just a change in voice intonation. I'll say, "We're doing this because nobody does that." They're like, "Yeah, no one does that. Like, we're not doing that." I'm like, "No, we're doing that because no one does it." And they're like, "Right, nobody does that. We're not doing that." I'm like, "No, that's why we're doing it. Nobody does that." And it's obviously we're saying the same line. The way I look at it is, no one does it. Let's do it. And everybody else says, "You're friggin' crazy. Nobody else does that." That's where the best inventions come from. Hi, this is Jay Glazer with the NFL on Fox, founder of UnBreakable Performance Center and merging vets and players, and you're watching Behind the Brand.
Wow, one take wonder. Hey, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here in Jay Glazer's incredible, unbreakable gym. Jay, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Hey, you know what? But you're sitting here in my gym. You're not sweating. You don't have like any of that little muscle pumps. And what's going on here? No one walks in this gym and doesn't pump it up. Come on.
We just got here. We're not done yet.
We're going to throw you in with some of the badasses on the wall behind you.
I love it. I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
How did I get which job? I got about 8 of them. Which one are we talking about?
How did you get here?
I ask myself that question every day. How the hell did I get here? I don't know. Every day, honestly, I wake up. It's like I think I'm in a dream. Hey, I have been vindicated. Thanks a lot, guys, because all year long, you guys have been talking about my vertical. Clearly, the guy can't throw. How many times you give him a chance here? Luckily for us, I got 2 free suits from the Michael Strahan collection today.
You're welcome, my friend.
Like I'm still like in 5th grade, and I'm ready for my mom to wake me up, and I'm gonna go, "Oh no, none of this happened? Damn, oh my goodness." Because I am the luckiest dude who's ever lived.
What was 5th grade Jay like?
5th grade Jay was probably more mature than 47-year-old Jay. I'm using the same jokes now and just getting paid off it. So I've always had I've always used relationships, been a personality relationship kind of guy. The biggest thing I always did is I have outworked everybody on the planet. That's it. I will be the last man standing. I just decided from day one when I started doing whatever I was going to do, I would be the last dude standing. Everybody else would quit, they'd tap out. I am relentless.
So I want to go back to elementary school for just a little bit, just to revisit that for a second. A lot of people who watch this show, they're entrepreneurs. They're doing their own thing. So whether they're in the struggle right now or they're somewhere...
Embrace the struggle, baby. Embrace the struggle.
Yeah, that's a part of it.
And you got to appreciate that struggle, the toil, the climb. Again, you never know where you're going to get. You have to enjoy the ride. If you don't enjoy the ride, then why bother?
Yeah. We'll get into that. So back to elementary school. So did you always know that you were going to be sort of an entrepreneur doing different things? You weren't going to maybe go to law school?
Elementary school? Shoot, I was just trying to figure out how not to get D's. Are you kidding me? No, I didn't know any of that. I think life has always kind of been my playground though, and it's never stopped. Now I like to say the world is my locker room. It's never stopped. And with me, I've joked around about everything as a kid. I joke around about everything now, and I try to kind of make that infectious with everybody else. I try to break down a lot of the barriers of people get so damn sensitive these days, and I don't think there is enough laughter. I think people get so sensitive on everything that you say. I think if we laugh a lot more, then the world's a better place.
I kind of agree with that. So what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were growing up?
What did I want to be? Yeah, I want to be a fighter, always. I started wrestling when I was a kid, boxing when I was a kid, martial arts as a kid, and it never stopped. I boxed and wrestled through high school, boxed in college. Luckily, when I signed with Fox, David Hill, who was the chairman of Fox Sports at the time, I had just come in my first day at Fox with just won one of the largest submission fighting tournaments in the country, of the world, and I was a mess. I'm not exactly an elusive kind of fighter. And luckily, he put an end to my fight career right then and there. I think it was 2003 or 4 or something along those lines. So that's what I always wanted to do something like that. I tell you what, if you nothing in my life has ever been 40 miles per hour. It's always been 100 miles per hour, so extreme. So when I was moved to New York City, my 4 jobs at the same time were bartending, I was doing stand-up comedy with some big names like Jay Moore, David Tell, guys like that. I was boxing, And then I was interning at WFAN Radio, which was the first all-sports radio station in America for Mike and the Mad Dog, which is legendary. I was doing all 4 of those at the same time. Can't get further apart than that.
Well, I mean, so you have always kind of been an entrepreneur at heart, doing different things, you know, trying stuff out that may not work, or experimenting, seeing what you like, what you don't like. And then you're kind of a pioneer with MMA, right? Bringing that more to the mainstream. Talk about that.
Yeah, you know, again, when the sport first started getting big here in America, I was the first host of a national MMA show in America called the Pride Fighting Championships. I just signed with Fox, and the Ultimate Fighter went over to Spike TV. And one of the things I signed with Fox for was to do the NFL plus MMA. So we had to figure out something else to do. And my coach at the time, Renzo Gracie, was competing in something called Pride over in Japan. So hosted the Pride Fighting Championships, and it was that back then also the lawyers at Fox wouldn't allow ground and pound to be shown. So every time somebody was on the ground and you're hitting somebody, they flash to the audience. So you would never see it. But I've hosted since then Pride, Strikeforce, UFC, Elite XC, Affliction, anything and everything you could possibly imagine. And then also I started this mixed martial arts cross-training program for pro athletes. So, you know, once Fox made me stop fighting, I had to learn how to start doing something else. I learned how to start coaching guys. So I've created this program with Randy Couture, and here we are 1,000 players later. And so 15 years I've been training players in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's not an easy transition. Can you break that down a little bit? Let's unpack it and talk about, you know, how did you transition from what sounds like bartender slash hustler slash sports announcer?
No transition, I was just doing it all at the same time.
I mean, did you have any business experience? How did you do that?
No, I just learned on the fly. You know what, I mean, even like, I can't pick things up well, and I think that's what a good coach is supposed to do. They're supposed to pick things up from others and see how you can apply it to yourself and teach others. The biggest thing is I decided a long time ago to be different. That's the biggest thing. People are so afraid. They walk in a room and they just want to conform with everybody else. That's not what leads to success. Be different. You got to be brave. It's horrifying, but be different. You know, I first walked in the Giant locker room. That's my first break, if you will, was covering the Giants in 1993. And that's when I latched on to my best friend in this business, who, you know, the guy with the bad teeth and the, you know, the big gap in his teeth and the goofy smile, Michael Strahan. But I walked in that Giant locker room and I was like, man, I can't beat out all these other, you know, reporters, what they do. I looked at it back then, I said, I can't compete with all the best of the best in the New York City market. So I literally walked in that Giant locker room and I said, how can I be different? How can I be different than everybody else in here? I'm not going to conform. I'm not going to try and do it like them. They're going to beat my butt for a little while, but I'm going to do it my way. And that's really the best advice you can give somebody is have your own conviction, man, go for it. Don't listen to anybody else. Look, I looked at it a long time ago. I think my best thing I could do is I know how to build relationships and then marry them together. So all the businesses that I have, they're kind of married together. So here I am, the NFL on Fox. Then I'm training these players that I'm covering, which that was controversial for a while, but we got through that. And then I'm opened up this place. And then as a result of all this, I get on Ballers, which I've been friends with Dwayne for a long time. So now it kind of all fits together. And with this gym also, we have some bars and restaurants down over here called Rock and Riley's, where the main owner there, Craig Lay, he's coming over here, helping run this place as well. So we just kind of fit all these relationships together. One big happy mafia.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing the big picture. That's a very smart strategy. I think, you know, if I was going to underscore it for people who are trying to take a business lesson from this, it is all about relationships.
Yep.
And it's also kind of about staying in your lane. You know, you're doing complementary businesses or working with people who can complement or feed back into your other businesses. So
I'm also creating my own lanes to an extent. And again, it's scary. It's definitely scary to do that.
What's scary about it?
The way I look at things, the rest of the world may not see it, but I see it clear, and I go for it. And for me, I kind of look at it and go, how could you not see this? And like, look, I created this charity, Merging Vets and Players, MVP. For me, I just saw it so clear. Combat veterans, they look up at football players look up to combat veterans. When their uniform comes off, they both go through the same struggle. I'm like, let's put them together. Let's coach them up together. They both go through the same thing. And just the way for me, it just made all the sense in the world. It's been right there in front of all our faces. I just saw it. And then I saw it and said, man, we could do this on a national level. All we need to do is this, this, and this. And I went for it. And I think that, it goes down to, the biggest thing my dad taught me growing up was if you're loyal and you outwork the world, your dreams will come true. So I'm not being cliche. Everything he pounded that home in me, and it has worked. I'm certainly not more talented than everybody else. I'm certainly not smarter than everybody else, but I will outwork everybody threefold, and I'm the most loyal son of a bitch on the planet.
What did your dad do for work?
My dad was so my grandfather died when my dad was 5, and he started working in Brooklyn when he was 8. They were as poor as could pour, but he was like delivering seltzer bottles up and down with the rest of my family, and so he always grinded. He actually sold Olivetti typewriters door to door in Brooklyn, and then he started becoming an entrepreneur. And then him and my mom ended up opening up a chain of preschools for communicationally handicapped children, and that's actually where I worked growing up. And there's talking about having patience, but there's such a payoff. So working with a lot of children with autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, deaf children, so you can get a smile, you can, like things that are small to the rest of the world, they're so big in those schools, and the payoff was great. I gotta pay it back, I gotta pay it forward, I gotta do something back. I can't just do all this and take and not give back, because then what's the sense?
Well said. So it seems like you do business, and do personal, all from a lot of intuition, right from the heart, you said.
Yeah. I see it and I go. And it could just happen here. I'll go, like we have, like I said, we open up a restaurant over here, Pearls. And just the way my mind thinks, I'm like, hey, let's get Eddie George to DJ for us. And my partner Craig is like, what? I'm like, yeah, let's get Eddie George to DJ for us. So it's a win for him because he gets to DJ because he's trying to work on his DJ skills and all that. It's a huge win for us because then word spread around town that Heisman Trophy winner Eddie George is DJing over here at Pearls. It's a win-win for everybody. For me, it just made all the sense in the world. Somebody else, you're like, wait, what's going on here? And the stuff I do come up with and have my friends do, which just makes sense to me, they look at it and go, you're out of your mind. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. We're out of our mind. So the biggest thing is I've had people say to me, and it's just a change in voice intonation, I'll say, we're doing this because nobody does that. And they're like, yeah, no one does that. I'm like, we're not doing that. I'm like, no, we're doing that because no one does it. And they're like, right, nobody does that. We're not doing that. I'm like, no, that's why we're doing it. Nobody does that. And it's obviously we're saying the same line. The way I look at it is, no one does it. Let's do it. Yeah. And everybody else says, you're friggin' crazy. Nobody else does that. That's where I think that's where the best inventions come from.
Yeah, well, you're in good company. Was that Steve Jobs quote, like, the people who think that they're crazy enough to change the world are usually the people that do that?
I'm crazy enough to do a lot of stuff.
So I want to touch on this, the stigma of making mistakes and failure and all that, because I liked what you said a lot, where you said, a lot of people will say failure is not an option. Let's go on to failure for a second, because a lot of people have said this, and I agree, that failure has to be an option, right? If you're going to succeed, you can't have one without the other.
It's got to be a huge tool.
Very few people just, first time out make it big, right? It's usually a series of. So because you make all these decisions, it seems like from the heart or intuition, talk to us about some of these things that you got wrong in order to get it right.
I think that every failure I've had is part of the growth. You got to be patient, and I haven't been. And that's probably the biggest mistake I've done, is not being patient with people. Because for me, I'm looking at it and going, guys, I'm going to take everybody up here. I'm going to bring you all to the promised land. Just follow along. And I've had a lack of patience with that and I haven't done a good job communicating, like, this is all for you and me to get together. We're doing it together. Instead of just kind of pounding it over people's heads, whether it's whether it's our charities, whether it's just even TV work. It's, you got to get people to see that you are in this together, a bigger team you could build, the better, and you got to have more patience. I would think that's the biggest thing, but I'm just I'm a hurricane.
Let's maybe think about this in the context of what if what if this was 2017 and we're talking to 18-year-old Jay? What advice would you give a young person, maybe coming out of college, who's like undecided what they want to do, following their passion? You know, should I, go to? What advice would you give young people?
Don't chase the money. Chase the success. The money will come. Chase the results. Money will come. I don't care what it is. You want to be, you want to sweep floors. If you're the best floor sweeper in the history of life and you love it and you have passion, somehow, some way, money will come.
How do you find that passion?
Only you can figure that out behind your ribcage. You're the only one who can do that. So whatever you feel, whatever you're clicking with, just go for it. That's it. Because then every day you get to wake up happy, you get to wake up doing something that you're passionate about. Otherwise, you're not going to want to wake up in the morning and go out to work and go chase life, or you're just going to look at your watch until it's 5 o'clock on Friday. The key to life is that there is no 5 o'clock on Friday, right? There is no watch. It's 24/7.